Not only because you spend more money, aka you impulse yourself more, whether it's buying more food or buying more expensive things. If you actually look at people that work a lot, they tend to buy expensive stuff. They tend to splurge. And that is because they look for relief from their constant work because they're working all the time. So at some point in your life, you're gonna want to obtain independence. And the way most people obtain this independence is, well, they get a job. There's really no other way to get this independence at first unless you have like really wealthy parents. And even so, that means you're not truly free. You're just relying on something, which I guess in a way happens when you have a job. But we'll get to it in a second. So at first, when you want to become independent, you get a source of income, aka you get a job. And at first, a job is like the coolest thing ever because a job, in a way, is like the first more freedom you have. It's like when you're a teenager and you get your first car, right? You're like, oh my God, I can now drive anywhere. I can do whatever I want. Well, when you have a job, you have that same sense of freedom. Oh my gosh, I can now make my own money so I can do what I need, whether it's, getting a computer or getting a vacation or getting a house or having independence in the form of rent, like having your own place to live, right? A job becomes a form of freedom at first. And I think at first it's also very easy to do because you have a clear separation between your work and your personal time. AKA, I'm working, AKA, I'm not working. And it's kind of like a switch in your head, right? You're either in work mode or you're not in work mode. And I think that's the healthiest way you can work because if you're able to separate your personal time and your work time, like you're basically free at that point, right? Your job is just simply a way to make money. You're not stressed about it. You're not letting it get to you after work. It's perfect. However, what you're gonna realize over time, and this is when, this is why I wanted to make this video specifically, is that at some point, your personal life starts to become reliant on your work, aka your income. And if you're not careful, what will happen is that your work is going to start slowly seeping into your personal life until it chokes it. And most people fall into this trap because what happens is that before your work is kind of like a switch, but now because you start letting things from that work get into your personal life, over time what happens is that you're constantly working even without working, aka your job starts becoming part of your personal life. And if you're not careful, well, what happens eventually is that you become a workaholic or you start working for free, essentially. That's what I call workaholics. Workaholics are basically people that are, let's say, for example, this is your personal life, right? And all the baggage from your work, you start dragging it into your personal life. So now your time to relax has become this clutter mess. Your time to maybe go out with friends, maybe go watch a movie, maybe go eat something with your family or spend time with your family. Now you have all this clutter in it and it starts kind of becoming like part of you. You can't separate these two things. They're just one. And a lot of people have this trouble, including me. I have this trouble because for example, I live in the van, right? So I'm always working, whether it's making a YouTube video, which I consider part of my personal time, but I also do like side gigs and stuff like that, and I'm always looking at the apps. I'm always looking to see how much work I gotta do or if there's any good offers. So the work is basically endless, and I realized that I was going to burn out if I didn't set limits. And I'm gonna go into these limits because that's the only way to cure this, to set boundaries. And nobody's immune to this. Most people can fall for this. I'd say the people that make lower wages are less prone to this because they can see the BS. But if you're into higher wages, like you make 30 bucks an hour or you have your own job or you're building something yourself, you are more prone to this because since you're constantly thinking about your work, your personal life becomes your work. And the next thing you know, you're just working all the time. You're working for free, you're working for salary, you're working for anything. You and your work are one. And I mean, it could work if you're locked in for a bit and you have a goal and you have a long-term mindset, but most people don't have a long-term mindset. Most people are just coping, and these copes can be disastrous. Not only because you spend more money, aka you impulse yourself more, whether it's buying more food or buying more expensive things. If you actually look at people that work a lot, they tend to buy expensive stuff. They tend to splurge, and that is because they look for relief from their constant work because they're working all the time. And well, that leads to the highest debt we have right now in credit cards and in cars and in houses. All of this is because people can't stop working. They're addicted to work because work has become part of them. They can't separate them. Now, being a workaholic sounds like a terrible fate, but if you're able to find enough copes, you can actually do it for years and years and years. And again, if you locked in, essentially you have a goal, it can actually be quite a productive time in your life as long as you're not relying on your expenses, essentially your work. Now, what I've also seen that can happen is that people start becoming disconnected from their work, aka they start doing what they call quiet quitting. And at first, this makes sense because you're thinking, oh, they're trying to reverse back to the phase one where there's like a clear separation between your work and your personal life. And yes, it does make sense. I can see the intention behind quiet quitting. But here's the problem. For you to quiet quit a job, you must have become dependent on it. And in fact, that's what actually happens to most people that quiet quit. They're dependent on their job, so they can't quit. In the sense that they have credit cards or bills or responsibilities that rely on that job, so they can't exactly leave it. And then they quiet quit, which means they do the bare minimum that they have to do. And when you do the bare minimum, well, you put yourself in the chopping table for that company or for that job. Because when you're doing the bare minimum, you're underperforming. So you're competing against the workaholics, which are people that are working all the time, and you're also competing against the people that just started the job, which are enthusiastic. They're trying to do their best, but you're underperforming both of them because you're quiet quitting. So you don't want to put more effort that's necessary. And the problem with this is that the eventual outcome to a quiet quitter is essentially getting laid off because you're underperforming. You're doing the bare minimum. You know, people aren't stupid. They can see this. They see that you're not putting your best effort. So what happens is that, well, you go to the chopping table, or you get burned out, or you lose your job. All of them have happened recently. You've seen the charts. People are getting laid off. And guess what kind of people are getting laid off? The quiet quitters. They're the ones getting laid off. So now you're at the worst position ever. You're relying on your job for income. You lose the job. And now, well, life becomes terrible and you're miserable, and then boo hoo hoo hoo. And that's why we get all these fired thumbnails on YouTube videos. Because a lot of people that are doing, watching videos all day are people that have quiet quit in a way. So there you go. That's the 3 phases of work. And if you're not careful, you're slowly going to start going from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, which is becoming a quiet quitter. Again, with everything, I do believe that balance is key. And if you really want to succeed long term and be able to do your job for years and years and years to come without losing your sanity, well, the trick is this. You have to set a clear boundary between your work and your personal life. You have to keep yourself in a financial situation where if your work dies, your personal life isn't affected. So what I'm trying to tell you is you need to have a savings fund or an emergency fund or an investment that can cover whatever crisis you're going to. And I know this sounds like, oh, of course it makes sense. But here's the thing. Most people don't have these things. So you need to last a long time and you need to do enough performance that you don't get laid off. And how do you do it? Well, you set up rewards. And I made a video on this called Make Your Life a Gotcha Game, if I remember correctly. And the point of it is that every single day you have an expectation to do. Whether it's work 6 hours, daily tasks, whether it's clean your room or take somebody somewhere or do whatever you need. And the gotcha system, what it did originally is that it rewarded you for doing your daily tasks. And it's not only daily tasks, but daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. So essentially what you're doing is you're retaking your personal life by putting things you want to do into your daily routine. So for example, let's say with me that I do the psychics, right? My daily goal is to make $100 a day. That's my daily minimum. So if I make $100 a day, well, I give myself a $5 reward. And that $5 reward, I can stack it up and build it up to $15. So if I do $150, I give myself a $15 reward. In a way, you could say that if I work my 6-hour shift, I can then go and play video games for an hour in a way. Something to recoup your personal life. And believe it or not, this is actually one of the healthiest ways I actually seen people do this kind of stuff, because you're not a workaholic, but you're also kind of retaking your personal life. So you're starting to set a clear boundary, whether it's through a time system or a reward system. And if you do this, what's going to happen over time is that now you have a healthy way to cope, because in some way we all kind of cope in the end, right? We're either rewarding ourselves for our work, we're either getting ourselves something, or we're either like reclaiming our time. All of these are essentially copes. But what they do is they make you look forward to the next day, because I know that if I do my daily goal today, I get a reward during the end of the day. If I do my daily goal tomorrow, I get a reward tomorrow. Like for example, right now, when I'm done with this video, the moment I upload this video, I'm gonna go get myself some sushi. And yes, this is literally the reward for me making this video. I go to a sushi restaurant that I really like and I go get sushi. And now I'm looking forward to the sushi. So therefore, there is a personal reward for a work task. Because YouTube is kind of personal, but I'm currently in the, I kind of consider it like a hybrid between work and personal, because I do have to make these videos. You know, these videos aren't easy to make. They take a lot of effort. There's a lot of clips I gotta cut. So if you appreciate the effort, make sure you give it a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. But with that said, guys, daily rewards can give you a clear boundary, and you can also make it a time base. So for example, if I do my 40 hours this week, I'm gonna go this weekend and watch a movie, or I'm gonna go hang out with friends on the weekends. And what's happening is you get the best of both worlds, right? You have personal time, and you also have work time. So you're reverting back to that phase one, where there is a clear boundary between your personal time and your work time. And I believe this is the cure to workaholics, and this is also the cure to people that are quiet quitting, because now you're rewarding yourself for your day-to-day tasks. So you're able to do them far longer than somebody that doesn't have a reward system, that doesn't have something to look forward to. And in a way, you're not only going to be able to do the work longer, but you're going to be looking forward to something which you yourself have identity in. And that, I believe, is the key to success and happiness when you do a job. Because job doesn't become a form of freedom, it becomes the source of freedom. But yeah, guys, I really hope this video helped you guys out, because I know eventually the question's gonna come out like, how do you work so long? How can you do van life every single day? How can you do psychics every single day? Well, the truth is that I just reward myself for doing it. Although I am a workaholic because I have to work all the time, there is a clear boundary as to when I'm working and when I'm not working. And because I have that boundary, I'm able to not only express myself and do the best I can at work, but also do my best in my personal tasks, whether it's, you know, going out to travel, going out to make YouTube videos, or doing whatever I need to do that day. You know, like that's what the gotcha system is for. That's what the reward system is for. That's why I do these things, right? Because I want to reward myself for a good day of work. Otherwise, what's the point of work if I'm not going to reward myself for it, right? But with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you give it a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for more of these videos where I talk to you guys for a while and also show you the cool stuff about the van. Because believe it or not, van life, I haven't done anything on van life, but if honestly, like if I start making videos on van life, I think the channel is going to explode, because this is literally, I don't want to say the American dream, but this is the key to the American dream right here. This van. And I'm going to show you guys in the future why I mean that. But with that said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.